She entered the divorce hearing in labor. What happened next will change everything. Sarah clutched her belly, waves of pain rolling through her with each contraction. She was standing in front of the courthouse, her heart racing. Today wasn't just another day. Today was supposed to be the day she would finally cast off the heavy ties to her estranged husband, Mark. But with every tightened muscle, every pang deep within her, it felt like the world around her was closing in. This was it. This was her moment to take a stand for herself, for Emma and the little life growing inside her. The courtroom was stark and intimidating. Rows of familiar faces, neighbors and townsfolk, watched her with a mix of sympathy and judgment. It was almost suffocating. They were all here to witness her fight, her desperate bid for stability as a single mother. Flanked by their self-righteous ideals, it felt like every gaze whispered, "Can she really do this alone?" As the hearing commenced, Sarah tried to steady her breath. Mark's attorney wasted no time, aiming barbs at her. "How can she provide for them? Look at her circumstances," he sneered. With each question thrown, Sarah felt the worry swell within her. Would these people really believe she was the villain? Did they not see the hours she spent in the hospital, pouring every ounce of energy into caring for others, while juggling what felt like an impossible life outside of it? "Your Honor," she found herself saying, her voice firm despite the tremors of pain. "I am just trying to create a safe future for my children." The room was tense, filled with hushed murmurs and sideways glances. Sarah could sense the walls of judgment creeping closer. But then, as if summoned by her silent prayers for strength, an older man stood up at the back of the courtroom. His face was weathered. The stories in his eyes could fill a book. "I've been where she is," he said, his voice cracking. "I lost everything and had to rebuild. It takes a community to make it through." He shared a tale of resilience and hope, enchanting the room and turning skeptical faces into ones filled with understanding. The crowd began to shift. Hope trickled through the dust of uncertainty. Sarah's heart flared with renewed determination. This was not just about her family. It was about proving that kindness could rise above bitterness. But the moment of respite was brief. As Sarah felt another contraction tighten its grasp, this one more intense than the last, panic washed over her. She was on the brink, both physically and emotionally. "This is it," she thought, glancing toward the judge who was now eyeing the commotion. Just then, an excruciating rush flooded her, the unmistakable rush of water breaking. Gasps echoed in the courtroom. Murmurs echoed through the once quiet room, and she could feel eyes widen in shock, catching the sympathy once more. But this time it was different. It felt charged with urgency. Would this chaos redefine everything she fought for? The tension stood sharp against the uncertainty of her future. Each interaction amplified, every moment punctuated as the world around her shifted. As chaos erupted, a single thought raced through her mind. Would this rupture in her plans empower her fight to cultivate a better life, or throw her deeper into the tumult of judgment and chaos? In the heart of chaos, as the waves of panic crashed over her, Sarah grasped the edge of the table for support. The thrum of her racing heart drowned out the murmurs swirling around her. She could feel every pair of eyes on her as the weight of the room pressed down like an anchor. "Breathe. Just breathe," she whispered to herself, desperate to regain control. The judge raised a hand to call for order, but Sarah's body had decided it was time for action. Another contraction seized her, squeezing her insides like a vice, and her breath quickened. The urgency of the moment stole her thoughts, and for a heartbeat, she was torn between the pressing reality of her situation and the life struggling to emerge inside her. Mark's attorney approached, but the words came out muffled through the haze of her pain. "We can take a brief recess," the judge finally declared, glancing toward Sarah with a hint of concern. As the courtroom buzzed with chatter, Sarah felt a surge of anger mix with her fear. This wasn't just about her. It was about the life she was fighting for. "Your Honor, "I'm ready to continue," she stated, her voice steadier than she felt, and she met the judge's eyes with fierce determination. There was no going back now. The battle for her family had to be fought despite her uncontrollable circumstances. She could feel Emma's tiny kicks becoming frantic inside her, mirroring Sarah's own turmoil. She knew the world could feel cruel, but she also believed in resilience. This was a moment to stand tall, for Emma and for herself. The judge nodded, and the proceedings began anew. Mark, who had been silent through her outburst, seemed to fidget now, an uncertain anxiety playing on his face. Perhaps he knew that this wasn't just about the divorce anymore. It was about choices, about sacrifices made for the right reasons. "You say you want to provide for your children," his lawyer shot back, reverting to a familiar tactic. "And yet, can you even be present for them with a newborn? Just because I am bringing a child into the world does not mean I'm incapable of being the mother they need," Sarah responded, her voice gaining strength. "My children deserve a chance at happiness, a chance for a home filled with love, something they won't find in a chaotic environment where bitterness thrives." With each word, a sense of clarity washed over her. She was peeling back the layers of doubt, not just for the court, but for herself. She wasn't just a woman in labor. She was a mother, hoping for a future that was bright and full of opportunity. The murmurs of the crowd faded, swept away by the conviction in her voice. She could see that even Mark's attorney was taken aback, reevaluating her stance. But as the judge was about to respond, the tension in Sarah's belly twisted into an overwhelming intensity. The urge to push was undeniable. She bit her lip, feeling the fight shift within her. "Please, we need to—" The words caught in her throat as she closed her eyes, breathing deeply. What would she do if this meant losing the battle right as she was ready to claim her victory? In that moment, Sarah understood. True strength didn't lie just in her battle for her family, but in transforming her pain into power. And yet, the question loomed large in her mind. Would she be able to embrace the new life inside her and still hold on to the one she was fighting for? The courtroom seemed to fade away, and she felt a rush of determination. Her heart raced with the knowledge that everything was about to change again. Could she find a way to bridge the two worlds she now occupied? Motherhood and independence? The thought lingered as the first cries of a newborn echoed softly in the distance, sending waves of hope and uncertainty through her. What path would this new beginning carve? And could she navigate through the storm still raging within her fight for love and freedom? The room blurred into a whirl of muted colors and muffled voices as Sarah focused on her breathing. The cries of the newborn echoed louder in her ears, and a new wave of pain coursed through her. It pulled her down, a powerful reminder of the life she was fighting for, pulling her away from the chaos of the courtroom. She opened her eyes, locking her gaze on the judge, who was watching her with an almost fatherly concern. The tension in the courtroom was palpable, each person caught in a moment between sympathy and judgment. Sarah could sense Mark's gaze, a mixture of anger and something else she couldn't quite place. Fear, perhaps? With a surge of adrenaline, she found her voice again, adapting her tone, infusing it with clarity. "I can be both a mother and a competent parent. Believe me, this isn't just a phase I'm facing. This is my reality. Your reality is that you are about to have a baby, and how can you assure stability?" Mark's attorney pressed, rushing to take advantage of her vulnerable position. "Stability is defined by love and support, not necessarily by circumstance," Sarah countered. "My children need hope more than anything else. I've learned that true strength comes from facing fears, not running from them." A ripple of murmurs surged through the room as her words hung in the air. The distant cries started to become clearer, each sound resonating with new meaning. She felt them weave through her, knitting a tapestry of hope and resilience around her. Emma, her baby girl, was on her way, and she could already feel the flicker of joy blooming within her heart despite the circumstances. Mark shifted nervously, the weight of his choices hanging over his head as anxiety played across his features. Would this moment garner his empathy, or would it provoke his pride further? Whatever the case, Sarah sensed that a transformation was occurring, not just within herself, but among everyone present. "Your Honor?" Sarah interrupted, feeling the intensity build inside her. "Put yourself in my shoes just for a moment. Picture hearing this baby's cries for the first time. It's a tidal wave of joy even amidst uncertainty. If I can face this change, how can I not also face the changes in my family? How can I not ensure a loving home for my children?" Sarah bit her tongue to keep from shouting, her emotions swelling. Her hands trembled slightly as she pressed against the table. The judge looked contemplative, his brow furrowed as if processing her words carefully. "We take all this into account, Ms. Hughes, but I must remind you that decisions made here will impact your children's futures." "Yes, and that's why I'm standing here." Sarah carried on, her spirit ignited. "I refuse to let fear dictate my path. Whatever challenges arise, I will rise to meet them. I'm not just a mother about to give birth. I'm a warrior ready for this fight." She was surprised to find her voice breaking, tears misting her eyes. But instead of shame, an electric charge of courage coursed through her. Every eye in the courtroom was glued to her, an audience witnessing a pivotal moment that transcended a simple divorce. Mark stared at Sarah, something vulnerable flickering behind his bravado. Was it regret? Understanding? Just as the current of energy seemed to shift definitively toward her side, another contraction gripped her, stronger this time. The overwhelming urge to push made her gasp. Panic surged. She couldn't have this baby here. Not now. Not in the midst of this battle. "Your Honor," she gasped, urgency flooding her words. "I think it's time." A silence fell, thick and heavy, as the implications of her statement washed over everyone. "Are we ready to proceed with the decisions that will impact your children's lives? Or do we need to take a moment to assist in welcoming new life?" the judge asked, his voice steady but understanding. In that charged silence, Sarah took a deep breath, knowing that everything she had fought for was about to come to a head. Would she gain her family's future? Or would she have to choose a different path entirely? As the courtroom erupted into chaos around her, she braced herself for the next wave of change with resolute strength, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. Would she have the courage to claim both her baby and her family? Or would she watch them slip through her fingers? The room erupted in noise, but for Sarah it all faded into the background. She was barely aware of the shouts and frantic movements around her. All she could feel was the intense pressure building in her core, each contraction a reminder that she was on the verge of bringing new life into the world. "Sarah!" Mark's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and filled with urgency. Their eyes met, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of something else in him. An understanding, a shared fear, perhaps even a recognition of how much was at stake. "Please," she barely managed to whisper, her breath coming in short gasps. "If we could just take a moment." The judge rose from his seat, his face a mixture of concern and authority. "I think we need to adjourn, but, Ms. Hughes, are you certain you can continue after, giving birth?" His voice softened, like that of a father addressing his child. "I can't leave this now," she insisted, pain coursing through her as another contraction hit. "I need to fight for my family. I can't lose them. Not now." As a nurse rushed into the courtroom, the judge turned back to the people gathered, directing them to clear a path. "We need to assist Ms. Hughes." His voice boomed, and everyone sprang into action, instantly shifting their focus from the legal battle to the immediate need for care. Mark looked torn. Should he help her, or stay in control of the situation? He was an attorney, after all. But the sight of Sarah, her fierce determination mingled with vulnerability, pulled at something deep within him. He stepped forward, heart racing. "Is there anything I can do?" Just hold my hand, she gasped. And to her surprise, he moved closer, taking her hand into his. The warmth of his grip felt grounding, a moment of connection amid the swirling uncertainty. A new wave of contractions came hard and fast. "Focus on the baby," the nurse instructed, kneeling next to Sarah, offering calm reassurance. "You can do this. Breathe." As Sarah followed the nurse's guidance, she felt the energy shift, the tension in the room morphing into something collaborative. She was surrounded by strangers, yet for a moment they were all united in a single purpose: to bring new life into the world, to support her, and to witness this critical moment. The pain crescendoed, and with each contraction, Sarah's thoughts drifted between the fear of her current reality and the unfathomable joy of becoming a mother once more. Images of her children flooded her mind, smiling faces, laughter echoing in hallways, the warmth of family. "Almost there," the nurse praised encouragingly, her own excitement spilling into the air. "I can't." Sarah's voice trembled as a wave of pain gripped her tighter. "I can't do this. Not here." "You're stronger than you think," Mark urged, squeezing her hand. The sincerity in his voice surprised her and pushed her to dig deeper. In this moment, there was no room for defeat. With a final surge of effort, Sarah pushed, feeling the room blur around her once again. The cries of her newborn pierced through the haze of pain like a beacon. Tears streamed down her face as that sound broke through the air, a sound of life, of hope. And suddenly, everything else faded away. There was a baby in her arms. Cheers erupted in the courtroom, the chaos replaced by a palpable sense of joy. As she looked up, her heart swelled. Mark's expression had softened, a sense of awe capturing his features as he gazed at the tiny miracle cradled in Sarah's arms. But even as she savored that precious moment, a bitter realization crept in. This was only the beginning. The fight had transformed, but it was far from over. "Your case is still pending, Sarah," the judge reminded her gently. "You will have to return to it after the birth." As she cradled her baby close, a profound weight settled in her chest. She could feel two paths stretching out ahead of her, both uncertain and daunting. Would she be able to create the future she desperately wanted? Or was she destined to let it slip away once more? That question loomed larger than ever as she prepared herself for the next chapter in this battle. And whether this newborn would save her family or change everything forever hung in the balance, waiting for her next move. Would it be enough to embrace both her newly expanded heart and the family she fought to keep? The room began to settle, but Sarah's heart was still racing. She looked down at her baby, wrapped in a soft blanket, tiny fingers curled around her own. The joy of that first cry echoed in her ears, yet reality crashed back in with a jarring thud. She had been hoping that new life would signal a fresh start, but now it felt more like another layer of stress piled on her shoulders. Mark stood nearby, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. He seemed unsure of what to do, caught between the jubilation of the moment and the looming chaos of her case. The nurse, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, gently nudged Sarah to look at her baby, encouraging her to bask in the miracle of it all. "You did it, Sarah. You're incredible," the nurse beamed, but Sarah's mind was already racing. Just moments ago, she had fought for her life, for her family, and now that fight was set to resume. The judge was watching, waiting for her to respond, tapping his fingers together as though deep in thought. "Ms. Hughes, we still need to address the matter at hand. This is no longer about just you." The words hit her hard. It was about everything. Her children, her home, her very existence. She felt the weight of eyes on her, hopeful, sympathetic, but also critical. She held her newborn tighter, a flicker of defiance igniting within her. "I'm not backing down," she declared, surprising herself with the strength in her voice. "This baby, this life, I'm going to fight for them both. Mark took a step closer, a hesitant smile creeping onto his face. That's the spirit, he said, his voice creating a small fire of confidence. But within her, doubt still twisted, a silent inhabitant. How could she fight against an opponent like her ex-husband, who had already begun to manipulate their shared past? Each of his words had been blunt and calculated, poised to cut down her resolve. As the judge addressed the room again, the hum of murmuring voices swirled around her. Some were sympathetic, but others questioned her capability. Could a mother in her position genuinely provide stability? The questions rolled in. Would she uphold her promises? Was she just a woman in a courtroom? Or was she a mother willing to protect her children against any obstacle? Her mind raced back to those moments of laughter in their home, to the fear of losing that once tangible security. The judge shifted, his expression shifting from concern to scrutiny. We can either take a moment for you to recover. No, Sarah blurted, cutting him off. I want to continue. I need to fight for my children. They deserve stability, and I can't allow this court to decide their fate while I sit here. A beat passed, and energy shifted in the room once again, morphing into something palpable. Tension mixed with admiration. She could see it on Mark's face, a newfound respect. No longer just her attorney, but perhaps an ally, a partner in this undertaking. As the discussions resumed, Sarah held her newborn, enveloped in warmth and determination. She was ready to dismantle the old narrative, prepared for whatever lay ahead. Yet, that red-hot determination couldn't mask the creeping anxiety knotting her stomach. It wasn't just about her anymore. The judge began to speak again, but his words drowned in the sound of her heart pounding in her ears. She caught a fleeting glance of her ex-husband in the back of the room, his smug demeanor rising up like a shadow behind her newfound light. Each second brought her closer to the unfolding battle, a clash not just of wills, but of futures. Could she truly protect her children, even against the strongest of odds? Taking a deep breath, Sarah tightened her hold around her baby, fueled by love and fierce determination. This fight wouldn't just change her life. It would define the lives and futures of everyone she held dear. But then, a sudden realization struck. Was her resolve enough to overcome the web of deceit surrounding her? The room was silent again as she stole another glance at her ex-husband, contemplating the very future she was fighting for. Would she uncover truths that could turn the tide, or was she stepping into a battle far greater than she had ever imagined? Sarah's pulse quickened as she faced the judge again, his gaze steady on her. She had entered this room filled with hope and love, but the stakes were now higher than ever. Every moment stretched, like a rubber band pulled tight, ready to snap. Ms. Hughes, please recount the events leading to your separation, the judge requested, his tone measured yet firm. His gaze was unwavering, almost as if he were dissecting her very soul. With each word, memories rushed back, hushed screams during late-night arguments, the sting of betrayal that twisted inside her. She pushed down the rush of emotions. My husband was involved with someone else. He failed to prioritize our family, Sarah said, her voice steadying. I thought we could rebuild, but he chose another path. Several heads turned. She felt the weight of their scrutiny, but pressed on. I want what's best for our children, not just financially, but emotionally. That means fighting for them. They deserve a mother who's present, who loves them unconditionally. Mark shifted beside her, whispering words of encouragement. You're doing great. Just focus on that love. Yet, her focus wavered as she glimpsed her ex-husband again. His lips curled into a smirk, a dagger aimed for her heart. This wasn't just a divorce. It was about winning. She remembered their daughter, Lucy, the spark in her eyes. Would her father's manipulations eclipse that sparkle? The thought made her insides twist. Your Honor, he he interjected smoothly. Ms. Hughes has had her issues. We are all aware of the instability she faced before our separation. His voice dripped with disdain, and Sarah's heart dropped. Do you really think that's relevant? Mark countered, rising to defend her. Sarah has changed. She's ready to be a mother. Changed? Her ex-husband snorted. What happens when the going gets tough? Will she just run again? A hush fell over the room. It was a gut punch, a reminder of the traps they had set for each other during their marriage. But she wouldn't let him take control of the narrative now. I won't run, she stated, her voice rising. I have never run from my children. Every moment has shaped me into who I am today, a fighter. I won't let fear diminish that. Gasps echoed. The judge surveyed her with an intensity that made her question if she had gone too far. But she felt something shift inside her. It was like a fire igniting, a flame fueled by the love for her children, pushing her toward the fierce resolve she rarely allowed to surface. The judge raised an eyebrow. Very well, Ms. Hughes. But if you're not backed by solid evidence of your capability as a parent, we cannot overlook the history. She took a breath. I have something to show, she said. With a quick glance at Mark, he nodded encouragingly. From her bag, she retrieved a stack of documents, the results of therapy sessions, proof of her commitment to becoming stronger, and supportive letters from friends and family. These are for you, Your Honor. The judge accepted the papers, flipping through them methodically. The atmosphere hung thick with anticipation. Would her evidence be enough to sway his opinion? Every step I've taken since our separation has been for my children. I'm not just asking for a chance, I'm pleading for their future, she continued, letting her emotions soar. I want them to know the value of resilience, that even in the darkest times we can find light. A slight nod from the judge was encouraging, but didn't quell the anxiety gnawing at her. The whispers surrounding her felt like a tide threatening to pull her under. In that moment, a thought sparked. What if I'm not the only one with secrets? She wondered, her eyes darting back to her ex-husband. Had she missed something crucial? Your Honor, her ex-husband's voice broke through her contemplation. Let's not forget that she's the one who almost brought chaos into our lives. Feeling the pressure intensify, Sarah took a deep breath. Then let's bring it all to light. Let's ensure that truth stands before us in this courtroom. If there's something you're hiding, I will find it. I will protect my children. Silence enveloped the room once more as their eyes locked. She knew the fight was only beginning, but determination surged within her. For her children, for stability, she would forge ahead. As the judge gestured for him to respond, Sarah's thoughts raced. Could the truth of the past rise to the surface? What if hidden lies changed everything? The tension crackled in the air, a prelude to what lay ahead. Would she discover the truth behind her ex-husband's facade? Or would the battle for her children consume her entirely? The air in the courtroom felt heavy, almost suffocating. Sarah's heart raced as her gaze locked onto her ex-husband. The undeniable tension crackled between them, like static in a summer storm. She eyed the judge, who seemed to be absorbing every word. Your Honor, her ex-husband began again, his voice smooth as silk. We cannot ignore the past. Sarah's history is filled with irresponsible decisions. How can we trust her now? The murmurs of the audience played in her ears like a haunting melody. She could sense their judgment, weighing her down. Yet, deep inside, something clawed its way to the surface, a fierce need to protect her children and redefine her story. I am not who I was back then, she countered, injecting firmness into her voice. I acknowledge my past, but I will not let it define my future. My children deserve a mother who rises every time she falls. As she spoke, Sarah could almost feel the warmth of Lucy's hand clasped in hers, her giggle echoing in her ears. It propelled her forward. The judge watched, eyebrows raised, carefully considering her words. Is there anything new you can provide that supports your claims, Ms. Hughes? He prompted, his tone curious. Let me bring in someone who knows me best. Sarah gathered her resolve and stood taller. I want to call great family friend Amelia Ryan. The judge nodded as she walked to the side, her heart pounding. Amelia entered the courtroom, exuding warmth and understanding. As she stepped forward, Sarah felt reassured. Amelia would be her rock. Thank you, Your Honor, Amelia began, her voice clear and confident. I've known Sarah for over a decade. I witnessed her struggles and transformation. Since the separation, Sarah has worked tirelessly on herself and has been the most devoted mother. As Amelia spoke, Sarah felt the tension in the room start to shift. There were glances of empathy coming from the audience. I've seen her attend therapy, work on herself, and prioritize her children above all else, Amelia continued. She's their first priority, not just in words, but in actions. The judge leaned forward, intrigued. The shift in energy brought a flicker of hope. Sarah held onto it tightly, yet, before she could even bask in that warmth, her ex-husband interrupted, his voice sharp. But how can we trust her? Trust isn't just built during good times, but often reveals itself in chaos. In that instant, Sarah's heart sank. Had the brief moment of support just been overshadowed? Could she maintain her momentum against such words? Your Honor, Sarah's voice rose, unyielding. Trust is built through growth. I've fought through chaos and emerged unwavering. I'm not here to erase my past, but to show how it's forged a better future for my children. The judge regarded both of them thoughtfully, weighing each of their expressions. Sarah darted an anxious glance at Mark, who was visibly tense but nodded encouragingly, trying to convey faith. Very well. It appears there are deeper layers to explore here, the judge said, eyes shimmering with thought. I'll allow a recess for you both to gather more information on this tumultuous journey you're discussing. This case is about more than just your narratives. It's about the truth protecting your children. The recess bell echoed, pulling Sarah out of her thoughts. As voices rose around her in a disarray of chatter, an unexpected warmth spread through her. There was a chance, and as small as it felt, she could cling to it. But a deeper fear gnawed at her. What other truths might emerge? In the midst of her thoughts, Sarah caught a glimpse of her ex-husband whispering to someone in the back. He nodded, eyes flickering toward her with a menacing glint. A chill ran down her spine. What if he had something hidden? Something dangerous? Amelia, she whispered, panic edging into her voice. What if he finds a way to twist this against me? What if he's hiding something that could turn this all upside down? With a reassuring grip on her shoulder, Amelia leaned closer. You must prepare yourself. The fight isn't over yet. But remember, you've already shown them your strength. But would her strength be enough to shield her family from secrets that could ruin everything they had fought for? Sarah sat on the edge of a cold metal bench in the recess area, her mind racing. The noise around her morphed into a dull hum as she replayed her ex-husband's words. Trust isn't built during good times. The phrase echoed in her head like a war drum, fueling a whirlwind of anxiety. Amelia sat beside her, their shoulders almost touching. Just breathe, she said softly, but every breath felt heavy, each inhale an effort. I can't help but think, what if he has something? Something I don't know about? Focus on what you do know, Amelia replied, voice steady. You know your kids need you. That's what matters. Sarah clenched her fists, nails digging into her palms. She'd fought tooth and nail for a chance to stand here today. It wasn't just about proving herself. It was about her children. The thought of losing them again after everything was a dark cloud looming over her thoughts. As the recess dragged on, the tension in her chest tightened. The whispers from the crowd floated around her like a swarm of bees. She could feel their eyes on her, dissecting her every move, as if they expected her to fail. Suddenly, a figure appeared in her line of sight. It was her ex-husband again, flanked by a stern-looking man who wore an expensive suit. The man's posture screamed authority. He was clearly an attorney. Sarah's stomach dropped. "Keep your head high," Amelia murmured, sensing her friend's distress. Just then, Sarah noticed Lucy tugging on Mark's hand, standing at the far end of the corridor with puppy-dog eyes, searching for her mom. In that moment, Sarah's heart surged with fierce determination. She couldn't let anything take that bright spirit from her. "I can't let him take them from me, Amelia," Sarah whispered fiercely. "No matter what he's hiding, I will fight." Amelia smiled, a spark of pride glimmering in her eyes. "That's the spirit. Your story is powerful and they need to hear it." As the recess drew to a close, the gavel echoed in the courtroom, signaling everyone to return. Sarah's heart beat erratically in her chest. She could practically feel the weight of expectations pressing down on her. When Sarah stepped inside, the atmosphere felt even more tense. Her ex-husband sat smugly at his table, that glint of superiority in his eyes unsettling. The judge looked over, adjusting his glasses, and seemed to sense the shift in energy. "Ms. Hughes," the judge addressed her directly as she took her seat. "Do you feel prepared to continue?" Sarah nodded, reminding herself of the warmth of Lucy's laughter. "Yes, Your Honor," she said, projecting confidence despite her shaking hands. "Then let us proceed," he continued, glancing at the opposing table. Her ex-husband seemed ready to unleash another round of accusations, and Sarah steeled herself. "Before we delve into further testimony, I would like to present evidence from a witness who holds crucial information regarding the claims that have been made against Miss Hughes," he announced, pausing for drama. "Mr. Thomas, could you please take the stand?" The attorney beside her ex-husband stood and moved forward. Sarah's stomach dropped. What could he possibly have to say? Her heart raced as the man adjusted his glasses and sat down. "Mr. Thomas, do you know Ms. Hughes?" the judge asked. "I do," he said, the air thick with tension. Sarah's anxiety wrapped around her like a vice as she leaned in, trying to catch the glimmer of truth that might save her. What secrets lurked in this quiet, calculating presence? The courtroom awaited his words, and all Sarah could do was keep her breath steady and hope for the best. But the whisper of dread reminded her. Truths can be twisted, and sometimes revelations can tear us apart. "Your Honor," he began slowly, "I have reason to believe there is much more to Ms. Hughes's past than we've been led to believe. The jury deserves to know." Her heart pounded in her chest. What was coming next? Mr. Thomas paused, his expression unreadable, and Sarah felt every heartbeat echo in her ears. "During my investigation, I stumbled upon records that suggest Ms. Hughes has a history of financial instability." Gasps rippled through the courtroom, and Sarah's pulse quickened. She shot a glance at Amelia, whose face reflected shock and confusion. Was this what her ex-husband had been waiting for? A way to undermine her? "Objection, Your Honor," Sarah's attorney interjected, eyes fierce. "This is irrelevant to the matter at hand. We are discussing custody, not her past financial decisions." The judge looked sternly between both attorneys before nodding at Mr. Thomas to continue. "Ms. Hughes's financial decisions are relevant. They speak to her ability to provide a stable home environment for her children." "Where did you obtain this information?" Sarah asked, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Mr. Thomas leaned back, a smirk threatening to break through his solemnity. "Through public records filings, as well as interviews with former acquaintances and associates." "Interviews?" Sarah shot back, her anxiety morphing into anger. "You mean gossip and hearsay?" "Your Honor," Mr. Thomas continued, "Ms. Hughes's pattern of behavior indicates an inability to maintain steady employment and financial responsibility. This raises concerns regarding her fitness as a mother. Each word clawed at Sarah's heart, wrapping around her throat like a noose. She could feel heat rising to her cheeks as panic and frustration collided. What was he trying to prove? And how could his accusations hold any weight when all she had done was strive to be better? She couldn't let this consume her. She had to find strength. "Your Honor," she called out, rising from her seat. "I can address that." The judge nodded, allowing her to speak. "While I've made mistakes in my life," she began, her voice trembling with determination, "I have fought every single day to create a stable life for my children. I may have struggled, but I am working hard to ensure their future. My past does not define me." The tension in the room shifted slightly, yet the icy glares from her ex and Mr. Thomas stung. "Ms. Hughes, your emotional testimony is noted, but it doesn't negate the evidence presented," Mr. Thomas replied coolly. Her heart sank. She didn't have evidence. All she had were her words, her hopes, and the love flooding within her. "I know it's hard to see," Sarah said, as she turned back to the judge. "But please consider what I'm fighting for. My children need their mother. Lucy needs me, and that's why I refuse to back down." The judge's expression softened momentarily. She could see the flicker of understanding in his eyes. Just as Sarah felt a flicker of hope igniting within her, Mr. Thomas leaned forward, his voice low but piercing. "And what if the opposite is revealed?" he asked, directing attention back toward her with cold precision. "What if your struggles are not just financial, but something deeper? Something that might affect your ability to care properly for your children?" Sarah's breath caught in her throat. What more could he possibly have? Behind her, she could hear a quiet murmur spreading through the crowd, eyes widening in anticipation. She needed to stay focused, needed to push through. But the implications of his words hung heavy, as if a storm cloud had settled over her once again. With resolve, she searched the eyes of those around her. Amelia's unwavering support, the glimmer of hope in Lucy's gaze as she stood outside the courtroom door. "Your Honor," she breathed, catching her breath as the weight of the room pressed down harder. "I promise I will prove I am more than my past. I will show you what kind of mother I truly am." Silence enveloped the courtroom, thick with tension, as she stood tall, ready for whatever might come next. In that moment, she realized she must confront every shadow of doubt. But was she strong enough to face the hidden truths? What else lay ahead that could shatter the pieces of her already fractured life? As the courtroom sat in breathless silence, Sarah's heart raced, tangled in anticipation and fear. She felt an overwhelming wave of determination wash over her. "I can't let this go unanswered," she thought. The eyes of everyone, including the judge, were trained on her. Sarah squared her shoulders, readying herself for the battle ahead. "Your Honor," she began, her voice steadying. "I refuse to let speculation write the narrative of my life and my children's future." She took a moment to gather her breath, rallying her thoughts to reclaim control. "While I have faced significant challenges, I have learned and grown from each one. What I need is not judgment, but understanding. I have fought for my family and will continue to fight despite the hurdles." The judge surveyed her with a keen focus, nodding slightly as if acknowledging her resilience. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in the eyes of her ex-husband. "Ms. Hughes," he interrupted, voice dripping with sarcasm. "You may have some great intentions, but intentions alone do not offer stability. Our children need financial security, and your record tells an entirely different story." "That may be true," Sarah replied, a spark of defiance lighting her spirit. "However, my growth comes from my willingness to embrace my flaws and transform them into strengths. You ask for a mother. Look at what I have accomplished despite my past. I am committed to providing." "Your so-called transformation is questionable," Mr. Thomas shot back, leaning back smugly in his seat. What evidence do you present today that suggests you've actually changed? Change is not always reflected in a piece of paper, she replied, her voice rising above the turmoil. I am living proof, standing here today with strength. I've built a support system around me, including therapy and community connections. Stability isn't just financial. It's about love, commitment, and being present for my children. And that's exactly what I am fighting for. The judge raised an eyebrow, intrigued. But Sarah knew the court wouldn't be swayed by passion alone. She needed tangible proof. Your Honor, she said, her tone resolute. I would like to call my therapist to the stand. Dr. Matthews will provide further insight into my growth and the ongoing efforts I make, both for myself and my children. The judge contemplated her request, looking at Sarah with depth in his eyes. We will allow this, he declared, a nod to Sarah's growing confidence. As Dr. Matthews entered the courtroom, Sarah's heart lifted. She watched as the doctor approached the stand, poised and ready to report on her progress. Dr. Matthews, can you attest to Ms. Hughes's personal development post-separation? The judge inquired. Absolutely, the doctor replied, voice calm and professional. In our sessions together, Sarah has demonstrated remarkable resilience. She has faced her struggles head-on and has actively taken steps to realign her priorities, especially concerning her children's well-being. Sarah could feel the tides shifting once more. The jury leaned in, captivated. Moreover, Dr. Matthews continued, Sarah has engaged in community activities aimed at empowering families, focusing on stability and nurturing healthy environments for her children. She has taken her past and used it as fuel for a better future. As hope bloomed within her chest, Sarah smiled at the recognition of her hard work. Suddenly, Lucy's laughter echoed in her mind, reminding her of what was truly at stake. But can you truly guarantee that she is fit to provide a stable environment? Mr. Thomas challenged. Her pattern of behavior raises significant concerns. Dr. Matthews's eyes narrowed. Concerns that are no longer justified. Sarah is actively working on her issues and making significant strides. Her commitment as a mother is undeniable. The courtroom murmured, the energy palpably shifting. It was no longer merely about her past. It transformed into a judgment of her potential. A glimmer of respect grew in the judge's eyes. Your Honor, Sarah interjected, please allow me to bring one more piece of evidence into this discussion. Proceed, the judge replied. Taking a deep breath, Sarah produced a scrapbook filled with photos, letters, and messages from friends and family. This is a collection of love and support that highlights my journey and the relationships I've built, she explained. It shows my commitment to becoming a better mother and human being. As she pressed the pages into the judge's hands, an overwhelming wave of pride surged. This is my support system. These people believe in me, and they want nothing more than to see my children thrive. The judge looked through her scrapbook, absorbing testimonies from those who had walked alongside Sarah. Each page turned felt like a brick building her foundation anew. The room fell silent as emotions ran high, and one by one, the faces showed respect, concern shifting to admiration. Mark glided closer without a word, his hand outstretched, holding Lucy's. We're here for you, Sarah, he murmured, his voice warm and sincere. Each word injected even more strength into her spirit. Watching her daughter's bright eyes, Sarah felt the fabric of their family warming around her, stitches of love weaving a tighter bond. At that moment, she realized no matter what happened next, she had already won in so many ways. Your Honor, Mark chimed in quietly, our children deserve a chance to grow up in a loving environment without fear of instability. The gravity of the moment weighed down on everyone present. Sarah looked around at the faces of the people she loved, friends, family, her therapist. They all stood in that courtroom, unified in their belief of her. Dr. Matthews returned to the stand. I can assure you, Your Honor, that Sarah's growth extends into all dimensions of her life. She has emerged as a dedicated mother, and the love she has for her children is palpable. She is transforming into the parent they deserve. The judge weighed their words, a slight nod suggesting he was absorbing their plea to ensure the well-being of the children. Then, miraculously, the judge's expression softened. "Counsel," he said slowly, almost thoughtfully, "it appears that I have much to consider regarding Ms. Hughes's fitness as a parent." In that instant, a new resolve ignited deep within Sarah. "I won't just fight. I'll continue to grow." The room filled with a tangible sense of hope. She might not know every outcome, but she believed in the strength of her journey, and that belief was her armor. And then, the judge spoke. "I will reassess the conditions of this case, exploring all facets of Sarah's life, weighing both the past and the present. The court's priority remains the welfare of the children. A ruling will be made in the coming days." For an instant, Sarah felt as though a heavy weight had begun to lift as she realized she had given it everything. Surrounded by warmth and reaffirmation, she felt as if a new chapter was waiting to be unearthed, a chance to thrive within her family, no matter the intricacies around her. And with that, Sarah stood tall, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, knowing she had fought not just for herself, but for the heartbeat of love she carried in her arms. This was her moment. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support by leaving a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support matters.